All right, guys. Today we're going to move on to animation. So first, I'm going to talk about the basics of animation in Maya, and then I'll talk about the character animation, also the basics. Okay. So first, I'll use about like 20 minutes for demonstration, and then I'll give the rest of the time for you. Okay. So let me open Maya first. So as my program is opening, let me explain the concept. So now you know how to create a model, how to do modeling, right? And then you learn how to do UV mapping and apply texture to your model and set up lights and do rendering. So you are able to create still images, but not motion, right? Not animation. So you're able to create a still image with the texture, with the lighting, everything. And in order to animate your either character or object, you have to do a step called ringing. So ringing is like if you create a character model, basically ringing, it means you set up the skeleton, which is the bones for your character. And then you will be able to control your character. For example, if you want the character to kick, or if you want the character to punch, and then you have to grab the fist or the neck to kick or punch, right? So ringing is build a connection between your model and animation. So you have to do ringing first, and then you move on to animation to animate the character with the controllers. So ringing is more technical. So I move it to the advanced section of the course in the spring, right? So now after we do lighting, rendering, texturing, we're gonna move directly to animation. Okay, so I just skipped that part, ringing, which connect modeling, lighting, texturing with animation, just so you know. So we're gonna do ringing next semester, and now we just skip to animation, which is a lot of fun. Okay, so here, let me show you the basics. So first of all, you have to go to Maya preferences, go to here. Let me find the setting first. So can everyone open Maya first? Open Maya on your computer first. Okay, so if you go to Maya and click on Maya on the left top corner and preferences, okay, and then under the time slider menu, you should see the frame rate setting for your animation. So this is very important. I would like to highlight this because if you don't set it correctly, you may have playback issues, like when you create an animation and the play speed is too fast or too slow. So you want to set the time slider as 24 frames per second, playback speed as 24 frames per second times 1. So that means, your project is based on 24 frames per second, which is a frame standard, frame rate. And then also when you play your animation, it will also play in this speed. So here's a screenshot of it. First, in your Maya empty object, you click on Maya preferences, and then go to time slider, set time frame as 24 frames per second, playback speed also 24 FPS times 1. All right, so remember, whenever you start an animation project, this is the first step and very, very important step. All right, it's just a simple setting, but if you don't do it correctly, you may have issues later. All right, and then let's do it together actually first. So after you set these settings, save, and let's together create a polygon primitive, create a cube. Okay, create a cube. And with this cube selected, press F key to focus so we can see it better. Okay, so for this basics, I want you to follow me. Okay, and later I'm going to demonstrate you some advanced tools. So for this cube, let's say how can we animate this cube? If you take a look at the bottom of the interface, you see this timeline, right? This ruler. So basically, it's the same as the timeline in After Effects or in Premiere. So you can create keyframes. Okay, so can you hands up if you don't see this timeline on the bottom of your program? Do everyone see the timeline? Okay, great. So anytime if you cannot find it, just go to Windows and UI element and make sure you check on time slider. All right, so I also will make a screenshot here. So anytime if you cannot find a window, just go to Windows and you should find it there. Okay, so let's see. If I want to move this cube along the z-axis, which is a blue arrow, okay, what should I do? So I know many of you have took courses about After Effects and Premiere, right? So to move an object, how many keyframes would you need? The minimum, 2, right? So you need 2 keyframes because if you want an object to move, you need to tell the program what is the initial position, what is the end position. So you need to create 2 keyframes to record the info. So let's bring our timeline to 1. So if I move to frame 1, see here, if you click on the time ruler, if you go back to 1, we need to create a keyframe to record the position information. So how to create a keyframe? Okay. After Effects user will find this confusing, okay, because the shortcut in Maya to create a keyframe is S key. So it is the same as the scale in After Effects. So if you use shortcut in After Effects a lot, and then sometimes you may have some conflicts. Okay, just keep in mind that in Maya, if you press S key, you will create a keyframe. See, now I press it, and then at the bottom of S key. So if you press S key, you will create a keyframe. So now if you take a look at the bottom of timeline, you should see I have created a keyframe. It highlighted the frame 1 in red color. See, here is it. Okay. So that means I've created a keyframe on this object at frame 1. Okay. So now what should we do next? So if I go to frame 20, if I move to frame 20 and move this object a little far on the z-axis, okay, and then since I already moved it, right, I need to create a second keyframe. So also this is a different After Effects. So usually After Effects, if you move it to a different location at a different time, usually automatically create a keyframe. Yes, right? So here in Maya, if you move it at a different time to a different location, you have to press S key again. So press it again. So now you can see that you're gonna create a second keyframe, right, on the timeline. Here I also make a keyframe, a screenshot. So here's it. This is how it looks right now on my timeline, on my time ruler. So I have the first keyframe at frame 1, second keyframe at frame 20, and now if I grab, my current time on time ruler, or if I just hit play, you can see that, start from the beginning. If I play, this cube will move on itself. Right? Is that simple? Very simple, right? The basics of doing animation. But as said, if you use After Effects a lot, you just have to adjust your memory about keyframes. Okay, so now we're talking about how to move the objects with the keyframes. So how can you copy a keyframe? So for example, if I let this cube move from frame 1 to frame 20, right, with this distance, what if I want it to move back to the initial position? So that's to say at frame 40, I want it to move back to the initial position. Should I just manually move it and press S key? You can do it, but the position may not be accurate. Or you put your current time at frame 40, and then you can, if you know the number of initial position, you can just type in the number, right, and then press S key. You can do that, but in a lot of time, if you are doing a complex animation, it's easier that you just copy the first keyframe and paste it as the second keyframe. So that will make sure that your next position, the keyframe will be the same as the first keyframe. So what can you do is hold on Shift key. If you hold on Shift, hold on Shift, and then click on your first keyframe. So you'll see that your first keyframe will highlight in red color. Okay, so let me do it again. Make sure you select the cube, hold on Shift, and then click on the first keyframe, right? So you're gonna highlight that keyframe in red color, and then right click, and select copy. Okay, right click and select a copy. I'll make a screenshot. And then basically you copy this keyframe, okay? And then you go to frame 40, right click again and paste. So basically the paste menu, it has sub menus, okay? Another sub menu is a paste connect. So don't select that, just to say paste. So basically if you paste, you're going to copy the first keyframe and paste it to frame 40, and then you're gonna have this animation. So let me play. So here we go. So we have this cube move from the initial position to the left and then move back. Okay, so very simple, right? Anyone have a question? No? Assume not, because this is the basic. Okay, so now let me show you more interesting stuff. So if you take a look at the bottom of your timeline, let me make a screenshot. So here we go. If you look at the bottom of a timeline, do you see this ruler, right? So with this ruler, you can basically zoom in on your timeline. So this ruler is the same as the ruler in After Effects or in Premiere, on the top of the editing menu. So basically with this ruler, see you can zoom in. So if you really want to focus on each keyframe, and you want to create a detailed animation, you may need to create a keyframe on each frame, right? In that scenario, you really want to see the detail, so you need to zoom in. So with this ruler, you can zoom in or zoom out. Okay, and as I zoom in, zoom out, do you see that on the bottom of timeline? See here, we have 4 boxes of numbers. The first 2 boxes, the number is 1, right? And the third box, if I change the ruler, basically the number in the third box is changing, right? And then the fourth box by default is 200. Yours might be different. So what does this mean? So basically, keep in mind the first box, the number in the first box is the first keyframe of your project, and the fourth box, which by default is 200, is the end frame of the project. So let's say if you create a project with 200 frames, so this will be the number. So the first box will be 1, because your project is supposed to start with frame 1, right? And the last box, which is the length of the whole project, is 200. And then the second box and the third box basically is the range you are previewing. See, if I change this ruler, if I zoom in, the number in the second box and then the third box is going to change. So basically, the second box and the third box is going to preview the range, on your timeline. So that's the number. All right. So so that is the timeline. And then if we just zoom in around frame 1 to frame 42, something like that. So now if I play, see, you're gonna only preview this area. It could be much easier, right, for me to play back and check if the animation looks good. Okay, so I want you to set the setting like this. So change this ruler on the bottom and make sure your frame is focused to from frame 1 to frame 42. Okay, and then I'm gonna stop the animation. Okay, and then I want you to go to terminal windows, and then go to animation editor, graphic editor. So go to terminal windows, animation editor, and graph editor. Find it, graph editor. All right. Here also I have a screenshot. So this is where I want you to go. Go to Windows, animation editor, graph editor. Okay. And then this is what you should see. If it doesn't appear anything, just make sure you select the object you have animation. So which in here is the box, right? So if I select the box, then I will have this graphic. So what does this graphic mean? What does this graphic mean? So you should see that if I just select this whole cube on this menu, it has this graphic. But if I select individual channel, for example, translate X, Y, Z, translate X and Y, nothing appears. Or rotation X, Y, Z, nothing appears, right? Scale X, Y, Z, nothing appears. But if I select translate Z, here is it, right? Remember, we only change the translate Z on this cube to make the animation because we only moved it on the Z axis, right? The position channel. So this graph editor, you will show the movement in the graphic. So that's how it looks. Basically, see here on this ruler, this yellow line, here is the number of the frames. So at frame 1, the position, the Z position stay at 0. And then if I move to frame 20, now you can see that the position of this cube, it moved to about 6.1 on the Z axis. Actually here, if I take a look of my setting here, it's about 6.2, right? And then if I continue, go to 40, it move back to position, move back to 0 on the Z axis, right? So that means I can modify my animation creatively. What if at frame 20, I don't want this cube to move that far? You know, a lot of artists, they just prefer to go to graphic editor, select the second keyframe and drop it down. As you can see, if I drop it down, this cube will move, you know, closer instead of that far. Or if I wanted to move further at frame 20, I can just raise up this keyframe, right? It's very interactive. So again, as I said, a lot of artists, they prefer to use graphic editor to change the animation. Or let's do it another way. So what if I want the cube to move from frame 1 to actually frame 15 in the first, you know, the first half of animation, I want to start from frame 0 to frame 15. And then I want to give it more time for it to move back. So basically, I can simply just select the second keyframe and shift it to the front. And then this cube will move faster in the beginning and move slower in the end. Faster at the beginning, slower in the end, right? Or if I want to do it in the reverse way, I can just move it to the back. So basically, in the beginning, it's gonna move very slow, and then in the end, it's gonna move fast, right? So this will give you a lot of possibility, right? So I want you to play with it a little bit. I want to give you about 30 seconds, just to give it some try, and then we'll move to next. Just drag this curve, whatever you want, and see, and you can keep the animation playing, and then you can see the changes you have made. The graphic editor is very useful. It's interactive. You can see your animation in visual. Yes.
So if you frame representing the movement, about one movement, is that one point you can adjust then, correct?
Yes, you can. Also, you can adjust multiple keyframes. For example, I can select multiple and move them, right? So each point that here is a signified keyframe on your timeline. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on. So let me go back. Okay, so now I just back to my initial position, which is the cube gonna move from frame 1 to 20 and then 20 back to 40. Okay, so that was my initial animation that I created. And I just pressed the command Z to go back to this initial pose. Okay, so another question. What if I want the cube to travel in a constant speed instead of speed up and slow down the second keyframe, and then as the second keyframe move to third keyframe, you're going to speed up and slow down. Instead of that, I want it to move at a constant speed. Okay, what I mean, say now if I play the animation, do you see this cube has speed up and slow down, speed up and slow down, right? So if you take a look at the curve, this curve basically signifies the speed, right? This is the x-axis is the time, which is the keyframe, right? And the y-axis, which is the distance. So if the curve looks like this, basically it means this cube is gonna speed up in the beginning, slow down and here speed up again, and then slow down. So if I want to make it to move more kind of in a linear animation, which is in a constant speed, what I can do is I can just grab and select all of these 3 keyframes and press this screen line and the icon. Let me make a screenshot. It's so tiny that it's so hard to see. So here we go. Here's a screenshot. So basically, I want you to select all the keyframes and press this small button. It says linear tangent. Linear tangent. Okay. I want you to press this button, linear tangent. So if you press that, now you can see that instead of showing a curve, now my keyframe is showing straight line, right? Do you see the change? Now you're showing the straight line. So now if I play the animation, see what's gonna happen. This cube, it moves in a constant speed, right? Instead of speed up and slow down. Rose? Okay. Here we go. Yes, Jimmy, I see you did it. Okay. So that's to say, if you want object to travel basically in a constant speed and don't have the delay animation like a speed up or slow down, you will need to do this. How to change it back? How to change it back? You can just click on this curve which says A, letter A. Let me make another screenshot. Gonna appear here. So you're going to just press this icon, right? It's a little bit small. So just press that one, and then you will have your keyframes back to the initial thing. So it really kind of smooth out your animation. Okay, so that means there's a lot of possibilities I can do. For example, let me pause. I can go back to frame 1 and select this cube, and I can also rotate it a little bit. For example, at frame 1, I can go to E for rotation. I can just rotate at a frame at -5 and hit S key, right? And then at frame 20, I can rotate at positive 60. Okay, something like that, and press S key. So every time when you do a change at a keyframe, you have to press S key again to update the change. Does it make sense? So now if I go to frame 40, and I can go to rotation Y and put -5 to rotate it again, and then hit S key to update the change. Now you can see that if I play, this cube is very happy and it's constantly rotating, right? Or I can even make it more interesting. So at second keyframe, I can change it to -60. So which you don't have to follow me on this step. I'm just showing you what other possibilities you can create. Okay, so also first keyframe -60 and ending -60. And then at frame 10, I'm gonna rotate it to +60 and frame 30, +60. And then if I play, so you're going to have this cube kind of a travel and also rotate, right? So it looks like he is dancing, right? And you can make it even more interesting. For example, at frame 10, I can let him to jump up, right? For example, translate Y, I can put a frame, I can put 3, hit S key to save it, and frame 30, also 3, and S key to save the change, update the change. So he will jump in, jump back, jump in, jump back. And while he's jumping, he's kind of shocking the head, right? So with a simple cube, you can create a lot of stuff here with the graphic editor, with the timeline. Okay, so that is the basic. So everyone's good here? Okay, so now let's move to the next step. So now I want you to download the project files from the second demo, intro to character animation, and I have a link for project files. I want you to download that. And the folder is called Monster Lady. Actually, it's a supernatural character. We used her a lot in the video game lessons, animation lessons. So she's a famous. She's really famous. After you download this project folder, I want you to move this whole project folder to desktop, Monster Lady, bring it to desktop. And then go to the scenes folder, and double click to open it. Double click to open it. And first, before I get started, I want to show you something. So while you are downloading your work, so second one. Okay, so here, let me go to my email. And if I just click on this link, and here we go. I'm not sure if her game has this character or not. No, it's different. So basically, these are the projects from the video game course that I've taught in the screen. Here's the student projects. Some of the student projects. I want to show you those projects that use this character. See, here's the character. She's very aggressive as you attack her. And there's a lot of her. And yeah, Aaron Porter also used her, I think. Oh, here I saw Megan's work. Megan, have you used her as well?
Yeah.
You use her? Okay, I'll show Megan's work. Yeah, maybe it's this one. Oh, no, this. Okay.
I have it's the one we got it wrong. I have a word for it.
Oh, here. Yeah, I found it. Oh, it's a recent game again. Gotcha. I think I copied the wrong link. Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just go to
like and subscribe and comment.
Which one is it?
We have the lessons, 13.
13?
Yeah,
This one?
13.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay. And also this one, final project?
No, it wasn't.
Okay. Oh, okay. She is hard to kill.
It just took like 7 shots.
So she's hiding in the forest, right? So the game is more smooth. It's just because recording and the graphic is showing snow, but the game is very smooth. That's great. Okay, so now you know who she is. All right, here is she, Master Lady. And when you open it, as I said, move the the project folder back to desktop. Okay. And then we open the character, it doesn't have texture. So what you should do, remember, go to terminal file and set project. Okay. And then set project, just select the monster lady folder and set. And then if you just click on this scene, this model again to reopen it, and then the texture should show up. Okay, so here is it. Here's our character. Okay, so basically, as I said, this is the whole workflow. I'm teaching you the whole workflow, and I will put the ring game back to the sprint, to the advanced lesson. So for the ring game, what you will do is you will create a skeleton. So this is the skeleton of the character. So take a look at the big screen. So this is the skeleton, called skeleton. So the skeleton is, right now I cannot control it because the controller will drive the skeleton, and the skeleton is basically bent into the polygon, which is the mesh of the character, right? So the skeleton is part of the character's mesh, and then we use the controller to drive the skeleton. So here, for example, if I select the hand controller and move, I can just move it. And then if I select the elbow controller, move it up and down, I can twist, right? I can twist the arm. Or if I select this hand controller, if I rotate, I can rotate the hand. Okay. And then let's see, if I go to the eye controller, if I select this eye controller and I move left and right, see, now she's kind of looking at us. So what I can do with this, for example, I can go to frame 1, hit S, create a keyframe. And at frame 10, I want she to look at you and knock a keyframe. And then go to frame 45, hit S key to knock another keyframe. And then go to frame 55 and go back to the initial pose. All right, so now if I play this animation, this is what is it. So if I play, she will look at us and then look at the other side. Right? So this is how you create the animation. And let me introduce you other controllers as well. So, so here we get the width controller, right? So if I move the root controller, you can see that he will bolt us. And if I select the second one, rotate, third one, keep rotating, fourth one, rotating. So she will bolt us. And you can see that the dress is not moving with the character. So that's involved with the ring game, which I'm gonna explain later in the sprint. So we haven't ring the dress yet. We only ring the character's body, so we can focus on the animation itself because we can see the arm, the body, you know, everything. But the final, as you can see, Megan's game, the final character, her dress is with her. Okay. All right. So what we can do is here in the outliner, we have 3 folders. Okay, we have 3 folders. So I want you to go to the character mesh folder. Okay. So basically the character control CTRY are the controllers, the folder for controllers. So we will select the controllers to animate this character. And second folder is for joints. Third folder is for mesh, right? The model. So we will not touch the joints and the mesh because we have the controllers to drive the character, right? So we will only create a keyframe on the third folder, which is the controllers. All right. So I want you to go to the mesh folder, which is the first folder, the mesh folder, and select the dress, which is the mesh name is tops. Select the tops, which is the dress. And go to tool menu display and hide selection. Okay, so go to the mesh folder, select the tops, go to display, hide selection. So now we hide the dress. So let me demonstrate how can you create a simple walk animation. So usually this is what the gamer do, okay, the game designer do. So here's the next, right? So if I just create a very fast, I just do a very fast demonstration, create a walk cycle animation. So what I should do is at frame 1. Okay, I'm gonna move the character's neck to a position and hit S key to block position, another neck, another position, block, and the waist, hit S key to block. So this will be the first keyframe, right? Key pose. Let's see if one step takes about like maybe 12 frames. So what I should do is go to frame 12, hit S key to knock the waist, since the waist is gonna stay at the same height, and then select the foot, move it back. They're gonna switch position, and hit S key to knock the position, and then another foot grab to the front, hit S key. So now I have 2 keyframes, right? And what I can do is, okay, I can go to frame 24 and select each of the foot controller and just copy, its first keyframe to here, right? Does that make sense? And then I can just hold on Shift K, copy the first keyframe, copy, and go to frame 24 and paste. All right. And then select another controller, another neck, and copy the first keyframe, copy, and paste it to frame 24. So basically, now we have one step and then second step. And the second step will move its foot back to the initial pose. Does that make sense? So we're gonna have a walk cycle. See, if I zoom in my timeline to 24, now if I play, we will have a walk cycle. Okay, so this is what you're going to do for walk cycle animation. And also, if I wanted it to be more interesting, in the middle of each step, I can just grab the waist and move it higher and knock keyframe and copy this keyframe and paste it to another side. Okay, paste it here. And here's the end keyframe, which is the third one. So now if I play, so as he walks, right, her body will shift up and down. So you'll start to add more kind of dynamics to her. Okay, and then you continue from there. You can even, when she move the foot, you can even lift up the foot. Like here, I can just lift it up, right, and create a keyframe. And then for another foot, when it's moving to the front, I can also lift it up, okay, and hit ESC to knock a keyframe, and then it can be looks like this, right? So basically, you start with some simple keyframes and you keep adding the components, but make sure it's in a cycle. Okay, make sure it's in a cycle. Does it make sense? And then when you create a keyframe, you don't want to move the character forward or backward. You don't want to move it, just let the character to walk and stay on the same position, because later on, if this character is going to be used in game engine, you're going to use a script to move the character forward and backward. So that's what you see in Megan's game, that when the character is chasing you, okay, when the character is chasing you, the animation doesn't let the character move forward to chase the character. It's the script that drives the character to chase the player. And the character only has the walk animation, which is a shift next. That's it. She doesn't move backward or forward. Okay. So that's if you're going to use this character for animation. And excuse me. So that's if you're going to use the character for game. All right. And if you want to use the character for animation only, like here in Maya, you want to animate the character, what you should do? So here's the secret. See the bottom, we got this root controller, okay, this big circle. So when you are doing animation, never touch this big circle, okay, till the end. So never touch this big circle, because what's the use of this circle is when Ringer create all these controller for you, they have this root controller. So this root controller will bring this whole thing, to different location. Let's see, if you already create this walk shift neck animation, and then in the animation, you want to put this character in the room and let her to walk forward, and then that's the root controller's job. Okay, so then with this root controller, you can put first the keyframe, you can hit S key to save the keyframe, And then let's say go to frame 24 and move this root controller to, for example, this distance and save a keyframe. And then your character will move forward. Does that make sense? So if you want to move the character, and then that's the root controller job. But when you are doing animation cycle, like walk cycle, run cycle, attack or idle, never touch the root controller, because the root controller is a last thing that you, if you're going to composite this character into a whole stack in a room or in a environment, if you're going to move the character, you're going to move it with the root controller. Okay, so that is an introduction of this character, this toy. Okay, so this is a toy for you to play and destroy. All right, so what I want you to do is I want you to select all of these controllers. Okay, all these controllers except the big circle on the floor that I mentioned, that is root controller. So I don't want you to touch that one. Just select other controllers and create keyframes and create any animation you want, like punch, attack, or kick, or walk. So you can do any time range, like from frame 1 to frame 24 as a cycle, or from frame 1 to frame 100 as a cycle. So you decide the length of your animation. Okay, so now I'm gonna give you time to animate this character. So you can do whatever you want.
If anyone is like messing around in class today and decides they really like animation, the stuff you were doing with the cube on the timeline earlier represents timing, spacing, and easing, which are three of the like big things in animation if you want to like look into that on your own time. And I can also like recommend like YouTube channels or like specific tutorials for like how to do attacks and stuff if animation is something that you think you're like enthusiastic about.
That's a very good suggestion. Yeah, thank you.
You have to select it. So you can just like have that controller selected and then just shift click on the other controllers. Like, and that will display them those and it'll show any things you have for them. Select any of them. is the word. This is just.
Oh.
This is technically for like the bend and fold. This controller at the end is like so you want to do the one that here. Use the gravity controller. Just go to the gravity tool. Rotation and so and then simulate something called basically want to simulate like squash and stretch. So like scrunching up together. Oh yeah. So we like scrunch, stretch, and then stretch like scrunch. Like that, feel like that. Yeah, every day.
All right, guys, let's take a look at this. Switch on the next one. So in the later lessons, a few lessons, we're going to create a walk cycle, run cycle, attack, depth animation, idle animation. And for the attack, we can create a different version of it, like a punch or a kick or a double punch, double kick. And for the depth, we can create a depth cycle like a depth falling forward or backward, right? So what can you do with those animations? Unity. So here's the demo that I used in the video game development class. Basically, I demonstrated how to create the animation in animation class, and then bring the animation we created into the video class for video game. Okay, it's horror. It's a survival game. So you can see that the skeleton is walking towards you, and when you shoot the skeleton, when the bullet hit the skeleton, they're gonna have a reaction, like get hurt. If you not get hurt, they're going to continue to walk. And also for the depth, we have different animation as well. Okay, and different walking style. So this is what you can do with animation. All right, I'm gonna pause it here. Oh, actually, I'm gonna mute. It's kind of annoying. So you can see that for all the video games that you play, you kind of enjoy kind of shooting and see the animation, see the graphics, but there's a lot of work behind it. Okay, so if we just talk about the animation side, now since you have animated the character, you can see that to create one action, for example, a walk or a punch, it can take about 1 hour, right? If you get really used to it, it may take 1 hour. If you're beginner, it may take you 3 hours. And then for each character in a game, you may need 12 or 20 or 30 different animation cycles. As I said, even for attack animation, you will need a different type of attack to make the character look very alive, like punch, right punch, left punch, or double punch, or kick, right kick, left kick, right? So you have the different variations. So yeah, so just to give you some connection between game art and animation, the animation you are doing here. Okay, so there's a huge world behind this, a huge potential that you can do, right? So I believe all of you already kind of experienced with the model, and it's a fun toy, right? Just to play it and manipulate the settings. So here actually, if you go to the third link, okay, we want to use the same model, but what I want you to do is follow this video, the third link, this video, and then animate a jump cycle with this character. You just download it. So now basically you can just go back to Maya and go to file and create a new scene. Go to Maya, file, new scene. So this is going to, remember to check don't save. So this is going to reset your project and you will not save any changes you have done to the character, right? And then you can double click to open the character again and remember to hide the character dress. So now you have a clean character model, okay? And then I want you to watch the third link. Okay, the third video I posted on lesson 24, animating a jump cycle. Okay, so now I want you to follow the instruction to animate a jump. Your project that's all. Okay, then just click on that one. That's project, that's all. Yes. And then set. And then switch back to your project folder. Yeah, but I see another issue. I see that you are opening this thing from the download folder and also your communication in that folder. Now, it looks like you have communication in maybe multiple. So if your same project is this folder, opening it from the desktop folder. Okay. And delete the one you have in download folder. But I don't want to confuse yourself. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay. So here, that is y to be here. See that?
Oh, okay.
Yes, those are decomponents. So those are decomponents for you to. Oh, I see. Have you created anything or for other components you already? Okay. Oh, wait. Okay. So then that's the program.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes. That's great. Cool. Now you just need to work on the lights. You squeeze something? Okay. That's great. Jump animation with the attack.
It feels like it needs to run really stay.
All right, guys, we only have 1 minute left. So I want to mention something that we can continue work on this stuff for the next class. So don't save your project, but do this. So go to File, to menu File, and save as, save scene as. Instead of save scene, save your current progress, we're going to save it as a separate file, right? So save scene as. So you're going to save it as a separate file, and then you're going to pump out a window, right? Monster lady, and slash. You can see animation. Okay, Monster lady, and then animation and save. Okay, so we have saved it as a new file because we have modified it, right? But we still have the original one. Okay, and then after you save it as a new file, Command Q to quit your program. Okay, and then do this. Let's see. This is your project folder, right? The project folder, we already set the project with it. And then I want you to create a new folder, say DIGA301, and put your name here. For example, Matt River, you're going to say DIGA301 Matt, right? Create a folder, a folder, new folder, and then drop the Monster Native project folder into your folder. Okay. And then move your new folder into documents folder, move your folder into documents. So the reason why I'm asking to do that is because the computer has a setting that every day you're going to clean up everything on desktop. You're going to trash it. So you don't want your file to be trashed, right? So bring your folder into the documents. So next class, next Monday, we can simply just drag it from documents back to desktop, and then we can continue from there, right? We can continue work on the jump animation and then move on to walk, run, and others. Okay, so everyone done this? If you have done this, you are good to go. Say it again. Yeah, sure. So if you already done this, you can go. But here I'll just show it again. So this is your project folder, right? First, make sure you save your current progress to a new scene. So save scene as, and for this new file, make sure to rename it as a Monster Native animation. So this will be the new file. Okay, so save scene as a new file. And then you have this new folder, right? So create a new folder that's for yourself and say DIGA301 and put your name at here. Okay, create a folder for yourself and name it. All right, and then drop your project folder into your folder and bring your folder into the documents. That's it. All right, so if you have done this, definitely good to go. And I'll see you on next Monday. Yes. I'm not sure. Sometimes they come, sometimes they don't have class. Hey Megan, are you in the next class? No. Do you know if there's a next class that's got meeting? Okay, you can continue to work. If no one come in, you can just continue working. Yeah, if no professor came in, you can just stay. Yeah.
Hey, I'm about to pause rendering before I came to class on images. I'm not done yet, so I was listening to you.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah.
Classes, you had the 2D animation course in After Effects. What course was that with?
That's a DIGA290. DIGA290. I think you got yeah, you will offer that in the fall, next fall, not in the spring.
Okay, because I saw some of your videos on the I was like, what class was that? But I didn't get a chance to do. I was like, oh, that's
yeah, we offer that even in last fall. Wait, I forgot. Last fall.
Yeah. Aaron Porter was in there, and then
Yeah. So that's the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And
would that be offered, you think, then in 2022?
2022, yes, in the fall 2022.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yeah. And Daniel, have you got help from can you? I connected with him, right? Yes, so that's his email, and he should respond about the time that you can meet. But if you oh, okay, gotcha. Good to know. Yeah. But he's a backup plan, in case you need any help, he's there. Yeah. Yes.
So this is all of this was for some reason it all went away. And like I didn't for
You have all the picture here?
Yeah.
Okay. So why there's a picture in this letter?
Because we're like
maybe are you familiar with the picture? Are these pictures supposed to be linked to each other?
Yeah.
So that's the issue. So instead of with a folder, you need to have everything here instead of in a subfolder. Everything.
Yeah.
So
I just did that to organize myself, but it
Yeah.
caused a problem.
next time you can see that. Hey, you already did it. Building one, diffuse. Building one, building two, diffuse, and building two normal. We already organized that, but don't put them in the folder. Just bring them back into the sourcing folder,
Okay,
and then.
sounds good. All right, I'll have this done by Friday still.
Okay.
I tried figuring out what the issue was with how to get nodes in here and so confused. I forgot, I know, should I just start from scratch to make the textures or like just redo them or something?
Why we do? You don't have to redo texture. If you already made texture, you don't have to. So you don't need to worry about this.
Okay.
This is something else. This is connection mode. We will never touch here.
Okay.
It's not useful for us.
I just don't know why it's saying it doesn't exist. Like I made sure everything.
What is this? What are they?
It's saying that the textures exist and yet have everything in file in here and the same property area that they have it in. So
Oh, so your texture are here.
yes.
Remember in the very beginning of this, also I mentioned this several times in the class. I said that you need to create a project folder and really have everything organized. Texture should be in source image folder, model should be in same folder since you haven't organized your project. So that's why it always causes problem.
Okay, so I need to make a new folder and then just put everything under them.
Yeah, so create a project folder and make sure you have all the texture in place. So check back the lectures that I recorded.
Okay.
I mentioned this several times and I showed you guys several times about that, so you should be able to find it. Yeah. Yeah. You don't have to read the texture, just make sure your file is organized.
Okay.
Yeah.